Hi, I'm Omolade and welcome back to my day's reliability lab. Today we'll be answering a question. I know a lot of people have this question, and the question is what's the difference between SRE and DevOps? And I'm going to explain it from the perspective of someone who actually works in SRE rather than just giving you two textbook definitions. So why not let's start with why this is confusing. DevOps involves things like automation, CI/CD, collaboration, monitoring, infrastructure, deployment, and improving how development and operations work together. Now let's look at SRE. SRE also involves automation, monitoring, incident response, infrastructure, software engineering, reliability, and improving production systems. So you look at both list and think, these are literally the same things, right? And that's exactly where the confusion starts. Here's a simple mental model I want you to remember. DevOps is primarily a philosophy and way of working. However, SRE is a more concrete engineering discipline and is a set of practices for operating reliable systems. They are closely related, they are not enemies, and one does not actually replace the other. Google's own SRE material explains that DevOps is broader and more culture oriented, while SRE has more narrowly defined responsibilities and a concrete reliability framework. You still don't understand? Okay, let's use a hospital analogy. Imagine the hospital has a philosophy. Doctors, nurses, pharmacists, and any other professional should communicate, collaborate, share information, and work towards the same outcome. That's somewhat like the DevOps philosophy. Now, imagine you have a specialist whose responsibility is making sure a critical system is functioning reliably. They are measuring performance, they are looking for failures, they are improving processes, they are automating repetitive work, they are responding to incidents. That's closer to the role of an SRE. So, one is more about the way the organization works together while the other has a more specific engineering focus. Now let's talk about DevOps. So what is DevOps actually trying to solve? Historically, development and operations could operate like completely separate worlds. Developers will say the code works on my machine. Operations on the other hand will say, well, it works on your machine but it doesn't work in production, and everyone starts pointing fingers, right? So DevOps comes in to try to break down those silos. The goal of DevOps in this case is for better collaboration, is for faster feedback, automation, measurement, and a smoother path from development down to production. Now about SRE. SRE asks a slightly different set of questions. They ask questions like how reliable is this service? How do we measure the reliability? What happens when there's a failure on the service? How quickly can you recover from that failure? How much manual operational work are engineers doing? What can be automated? What reliability targets should this service have? How do we balance reliability with the need to release new features? Those are the kind of questions that SREs ask. Now you might be asking, are SREs just operations people? No, and that's another great misconception. An SRE is not just an operations person that knows a lot of Linux commands. SRE is heavily engineering oriented. You are expected to solve operational problems through engineering. And if you are manually doing the same thing every time, and SRE's thinking is how can we automate this? If you're responding to the same alerts every time, as an SRE, you'll be thinking how what can be done to make this change, right? Why does this keep happening? If an engineer keeps getting paged, that's keep getting pager duty alert, let's say by 2 a.m., what an SRE is thinking is what can we change so that this doesn't keep happening? That's actually how SREs think about situations and use engineering to solve operational problems. So you don't have to choose between DevOps and SRE as though they are competing religions. They actually overlap. An organization can use DevOps principles and have SRE teams. Developers, on the other hand, can adopt SRE practices, and an SRE team too will often work very closely with developers. DevOps focuses on broad philosophy, SRE engineering discipline, DevOps collaboration, SRE reliability, DevOps breaks down silos, SRE operates reliable services, DevOps development and operations, SRE is development and production reliability, DevOps automation, SRE automation, DevOps continuous delivery, SRE SLOs, error budget and reliability, DevOps is culture, SRE is practices and roles. So if you remember only one thing from this video, remember this. DevOps asks, how can we improve the way development and operations work together? While SRE on the other hand is asking, how can we engineer and operate this service so that it is reliable, measurable, and then sustainable? So you will now notice that they are closely related, but they are not the same. I don't want you to memorize DevOps means this, SRE means that. Instead, I want you to understand the problems each approach is trying to solve. Because once you understand the problem, terminology becomes much easier. In the next video, we are going to talk about something that is absolutely central to SRE. And now, drum rolls. It is monitoring and observability. I'm Omolade, and this is Omolade's Reliability Lab. Let's make reliability understandable.